using Azolla as a main tilapia fish food on your tilapia fish farm. All right, guys. So that's the topic for today. Stay tuned. Hi everybody, welcome again to another episode of Fish Keeping Jamaica. Welcome to my channel. My name is Raleigh. I deal with ornamental fish keeping, fish care, breeding, keeping, and trading. All right, so today we're going to be talking about Azolla, and we're going to be talking about the difference in feeding fish Azolla versus duckweed. All right, so according to academic research, highlights, practice, anecdotals, Azolla is a powerful powerhouse for sustainable aquaculture and agriculture due to symbiotic relationship with cyanobacterium, Anabaena, Arolia. I'm trying to pronounce the scientific name, which allows it to fix atmospheric nitrogen. Right? Nutritional value of Azolla, protein content. Now, research indicate that a high crude protein rate of 25% to 33% exists when using Azolla, with a balanced amino acid profile, particularly rich in lysine. So it has more lysine and amino acid than duckweed, right? Fish diet integration studies show that based on what the construct of the Azolla, right, that 10% to 45% of Azolla inclusion in tilapia diet can maintain good performance while reducing reliance on expensive commercial feed. Now, this is where I need to point out, guys, that when looking at Azolla, right, Azolla it has more within it as mineral and protein and all that is nutrients that is necessary for your tilapia fish growth, right? It has all of that, right? And it has even more when compared to duckweed, right? Now, Azolla feed help to limit phosphorus loss in pond systems and provide natural nitrogen to the water, acting as an environmentally friendly nutrient source. Now, as far as agriculture and environmental impact is concerned, it serves as that is Azolla. It serves as a biofertilizer. It serves as a potent green manure, often outperforming inorganic fertilizer by improving soil, organic carbon and water holding capacity, right? But let's look at how individual has been using it in as far as tilapia farming is concerned. Now, research generally conclude that Azolla cannot serve as, I repeat, Azolla cannot serve as the sole feed for tilapia without compromising growth and health of the fish. Now, I did a video, I think about a year ago, where I was complaining that tilapia fish feed in Jamaica is expensive, and the government is not doing enough to help small farmers to be able to jump over that hurdle as far as backyard small scale tilapia fish farming is concerned. A comment was shared in the comment section of the video that it's as if I am whining too much, I am complaining too much. I can use Azolla as a fish feed, I can be more self-sufficient, I can be, try to discover other means of feeding my fish. And that actually spurred me to go into some research, evaluating whether or not what is being said is of any much value. And I came to the conclusion that whilst Azolla is a very good nutrient, it consists of a lot of nutrients that the fish would need. It cannot and it should not be used um, as 100% feed source for your commercial grade tilapia fish feed, right? Studies show that while Azolla is high in protein, 25% to 33%, as shared earlier on, right? It has a high crude fiber and anti-nutritional factor like tannins. Now, at substitution levels above 50%, the higher fiber content speeds up gastric emptying, meaning the fish cannot absorb enough nutrients. Research in the Journal of Applied Aquaculture found that total replacement significantly reduces specific growth rate compared to the balanced diet. So, if you use Azolla as your main tilapia fish feed, your fish is gonna get sick. Your fish is not gonna grow as well it should grow, and chances are you might never get to consume those fish as well a tilapia fish farmer would have use the product of a feed company that manufactures feed that has all the nutrients construct that is necessary for fish growth. Now, as far as amino acid and lipids gas, right? Remember, I shared with you before in one of my podcasts that lipids is something that you have to watch when rearing tilapia, right? Now, tilapia requires essential amino acid and lipid fat, that is fats, right, for skeleton development and immune function. Azolla is often deficient in let me spell it because I can't pronounce it. I think it's methione, lysine, compared to fish meal. 100% Azolla diet lack the caloric and density needed for intensive farming, often resulting in stunted fish growth that take twice as long to reach market size. So those persons who are actually using Azolla as the main fish food for for the tilapia at the back of the yard or small project, whatever, you'll find that whilst other individuals might boast that their fish are ready for sale within 6 to 7 months, you are struggling at 9 to 12 months trying to get your fish to be at that size where it is considered palatable, is considered ready for consumption. Now, optimal substitution rate, 6 to optimal substitution rate, right? Now, the consensus across academic trials, including those published in aquacultural reports, identified the sweet spot for substitution. Now, the last shade I shared with you, I shared that duckweed can be used as roughly between 10, I think it's 10, between 10 and 15% of the feed rasher, right? Now, as far as this is concerned, let's look at Azolla. Azolla, 10 to 15%, no significant difference from 100% commercial feed, right? Meaning that let's say that you have commercial feed and you have Azolla, right? Putting both of them together, you will get like 100% feed to feed your fish. So 90% of the feed that you feed your tilapia, when you feed your tilapia, 90% commercial produced feed at the factory, and you feed your tilapia some amount of Azolla as snack. no significant difference, right? Between 20 to 45%, an acceptable growth rate with significant lower feed costs, right? That means, in a sense, as I said with you before, Azolla have no nutrients within it than duckweed. So if you want to replace, let's say, 50%, like 20 to 45% of your tilapia feed with Azolla, you can go ahead, because you won't see it's an acceptable growth rate. You won't see any like drop in growth rate or deformity or all that. However, if you have replace your commercial grade tilapia feed 75 to 100%, right, you will have increased mortality rate. Your feed conversion rate would be affected, right? So you have to watch that. Now, practical farm application. Now, to maximize Azolla benefit on a farm, research show that fresh versus dried, right? Azolla, you can feed them fresh Azolla, you can feed them dried Azolla, right? Powdered Azolla is more digestible than the fresh mat. So when you're growing your Azolla in a little pond by itself, and you take up some and you place it in the tilapia pond, it is less, I call it now, it does not do much for them in comparative to when you grind it out into powder. When you grind it out into powder, the fish is able to digest it and is able to consume the nutrients that exist within the Azolla, right? Now, fermentation. Fermenting Azolla with products can break down fiber, potentially allowing for higher inclusion rate. Now, if you mix the powder with the feed that you purchase, you probably purchase, for example, you normally purchase let's say you normally purchase 10 bags, you would purchase probably 9 bags, and the other bag would be Azolla being the substitute. You grind up the Azolla into powder and you mix it with the feed whenever you're feeding them. That allows them to be able to digest fiber, right? So it's much more palatable and it's much more enduring within their system. It can do more for them, right? Polyculture. Now, Azolla works best in pond system where fish can also forage on natural planktons. Fill the natural gaps the plant leaves behind. In a sense, this is like going back to a couple of videos in which I did before, guys. You see, what you must understand is that tilapia like to consume throughout the day. Now, if you feed your tilapia 3-4 times per day, you don't allow them to forage within the pond, consuming the microorganism and the planktons and all those algae that exist on the siding of the pond, right? If you allow your tilapia to consume the algae on the pond, the algae around the pond, microscopic organism and all, what you'll find is that it helps to nutrify the body. I'm not saying that you doing this you can actually mitigate against using too much Azolla. I would stick to between 15 to 40%, but research say that you can go between 25 to 45%, 20 to 45% of your feed can be Azolla. Right now, use Azolla to slash cost by 30 to 40% by using it as a partial replacement, but avoid using it as a sole feed, right? If you aim for commercial growth cycle, right, you cannot use 100% Azolla because your fish will not meet to the commercial standard, and this is not something that you want. Now, this video is a little bit longer than what was expected, guys, because I wanted to just brief certain people on Azolla versus duckweed, on all that. But I think I'm going over too much because I need now to look at Azolla and duckweed, look at the comparative between both, and to see where we are at. All right. Thank you for stopping by, guys. Peace out. Catch you next time. Bye bye.